Thanks for coming to December team call, everybody. I know we didn't do a November call, and so this month I'm actually doing two calls. Today is part one, and I'm going to talk about the co-impact sourcing trip that I went on. I was so lucky to go on with Aiko last month, and then tomorrow will be like a regular team call. More updates, December promos, celebrations. We had some really big things happen in November. And then I wanted to introduce a little training program that I'm going to be starting in January. Okay, so um, yeah, Aiko and I, is Aiko on yet? We went to doTERRA's co-impact sourcing trip. There are actually four different options. Okay, it's not even my trip. It was Aiko's trip. And Aiko just so happened to invite me. But when we went to leadership retreat last year, this past March, when we went to leadership retreat, it was me, Aiko, and Charity from our team. And I remember them announcing, like, oh, you can enter to win a spot on the co-impact sourcing trips. Here's what you do. And it was donate $10 to Healing Hands. And I was 8 months pregnant. And I'm thinking to myself, there's just no way that I'm going to be leaving my children, my brand new baby, and going on a co-impact sourcing trip. So I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to enter. Co-impact sourcing trip would be definitely a dream, but I'm just not there yet. And so I didn't enter. And little did I know, on the side, Aiko's entering every trip that's available. And in October, I think, September, she messages me and tells me, I want a spot on the Kenya trip. Um, will you go with me? And I was like, what? And I was like, when is that? November? I think my baby's gonna be like 6 months old. I don't know. Like, what's that gonna be like? She's not on the bottle, and I was just like, I don't know. And I was like, don't you want to take your husband? And she's like, we can't, because she also has two small children. They both can't leave. And I was like, okay, and you have to be a silver rank or above. And the person that you invite with you has to be either your spouse, your child that's over 14 years old, that's be 14 years old or older, or another silver leader in doTERRA. So not everyone can go on this trip, and I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. Hi, Joy. Oh my gosh, nice to see you. I can't see your face, but I see your chat. Um, and anyways, so I messaged my husband. We pretty much text all day, even though we're working. I'm like texting him like little updates or, oh my gosh, my day's happening like this, and what do you think about this? And I feel like we're actually pretty productive that way during the day, because when he comes home, it's just straight on kids, right? Um, so I texted him and I was like, Aiko invited me to go on the Kenya trip, and he was like, what is that? So I had to explain what the co-impact sourcing trip was, and then he was like, you gotta go. And I was like, okay, but what about this? And what about the kids and the baby's on the bottle? And he was like, we will figure it out. Which is amazing. And I'm so thankful for that, right? And he literally was like, I got this. And I was like, okay. In reality, you guys, he goes to work. So like someone needs to be home watching the two babies. So it ended up being all on like my husband's parents and my mom, which all worked out. But it was just funny that he was like, yeah, I got this. So anyways, I told Aiko yes. And I was like, okay, but wait, how much does it cost? You guys, I think I said yes before I even knew how much it cost. And I'll go through that. But it's just was just one of those like moments where you have a really big opportunity in front of you and you're like, I have to do this. I have to do it because my husband said even supported it. I'm like, okay, we're gonna just figure this out. Okay, so last month in November, I went on a doTERRA co-impact sourcing trip. I would say it's like a once in a lifetime, but I don't think it is because after going on that one trip, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go on every one. Not every Kenya trip, but I'm gonna go on. There's four different trips that you can go on, and so I am even more excited to go on these co-impact sourcing trips in the future. Okay, so co-impact sourcing trip. How do you get on one of these? Why do we want to go? What is the cost? And what did I do to prep for this trip? I just want to show you this really quick because I had no idea. Um, you can go on doTERRA.com When you go to discover, and then you click on co-impact trips, you'll get to this page. And I just love this. This is Tara Bliss, in case you don't know who that is. She's an Australian wellness advocate, pretty well known. I'm going to read you this. In addition to supplying the highest quality essential oils, doTERRA is committed to making a positive difference in the lives of farmers, harvesters, and distillers who contribute to doTERRA's oil production. With over 100 essential oils in its product line, doTERRA sources its oils from over 40 countries, more than half of which could be considered developing countries. To ensure that small-scale farmers and harvesters in disadvantaged areas are treated ethically, doTERRA has introduced an initiative called Co-Impact Sourcing. Co-Impact Sourcing seeks to develop long-term, mutually beneficial supplier partnerships while creating sustainable jobs and providing reliable income in underdeveloped areas. doTERRA is committed to the ethical treatment of its suppliers by providing on-time payments at fair prices. Growers and harvesters are encouraged to form cooperative groups to share collective benefits and bargaining power while improving skills and capacity. Additionally, the Healing Hands Foundation, doTERRA's charitable organization, provides funding and resources to create community-based social impact projects to improve the lives in the larger communities where oils are sourced. Okay. So each year, doTERRA provides leaders ranked silver and above the opportunity to visit sourcing sites, learn from the harvesters, and perform service projects in these communities. So that is basically what a co-impact sourcing trip is. So you get to go and visit the distilleries, the farms, and then be part of a Healing Hands project. So I definitely didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I just knew that I wanted to go on. And after attending 3 different doTERRA conventions, all 3 in a row, I built my belief in the company and the co-impact sourcing and the Healing Hands. And if you guys haven't gone to convention yet, I highly recommend going. If you just went, I know a bunch of you went last year for the first time, I suggest that you continue to go because your belief will keep growing and your understanding of how doTERRA sources and how doTERRA is making a difference in the entire world will just keep growing. So I think it's a very important thing, and I think these co-impact sourcing trips will bring your understanding of doTERRA and of your business and your belief in the oils and company full circle. So those of you who are silver and above, you can enter the lottery. These are the upcoming trips. There's another Kenya trip happening in July next year. There's a Guatemala trip happening next October, Nepal next November. Okay, and all you do is click on to register, and it'll take you to a registration page that looks like this. Give you a little bit of information, and basically what it is you're gonna want to donate $10 to Healing Hands. That's how you enter the lottery. But if you want a higher chance, you're gonna donate more than once, so that it's a lottery pick. So they randomly choose who gets a spot on the trip, and then they offer it to you, and then you get to say yes or no, and you do a down payment, and then you do your full payment. Okay, does that make sense? So the cost, our Kenya trip was $3,700, I think. I'm so many things have happened since I've gone. I'm like, what happened? Where is Michael? Is she here? Probably. She puts her kids to bed at this time. Okay. Yeah, I think it was like 3,700. And what it includes, yes, so it includes everything except for your flight there. So a basic flight, so Kenya, right? I'm coming from Hawaii. Going from Hawaii to anywhere is about $1,000. We booked through Emirates. We flew from Hawaii on Hawaiian Airlines to JFK, then from JFK to Dubai, then Dubai to Nairobi, Kenya on Emirates, and then that same kind of way back. And the basic flight was 1,333, and then the doTERRA cost of Kenya was 3,700. We do a $500 down payment. So total cost, I'm really bad at math, so I need my calculator. 5,000. I did hear that each trip is different. So there's 4. There's Nepal, Guatemala, Bulgaria, Kenya. Okay, show of hands. Would you guys go to these countries without a co-impact sourcing trip? Guatemala, Nepal, Kenya, Bulgaria, right? Isn't that nuts? It gives you like an opportunity to go to somewhere that you wouldn't normally go. So yeah, for 5,000, the flights, we traveled for 38 hours each way. It was freaking intense. I can't even. And then when you, the best thing is when you get there, doTERRA takes care of everything. Everything. You land in a foreign country, you have to go through immigration or customs, right? And then you have to figure out how you're going to get to your hotel. Just things like that. doTERRA completely took care of all of that. And I was just so beyond impressed. Okay. So why do you want to go on this trip? I kind of said I feel like it just gives you just a well-rounded understanding. It just brings you full circle back into this company and back into your oils. In order for me to prep for this trip, it was a little intense because I had to find I have 3 children. I had to figure out, my older one goes to school, but I do the lunches and all of that stuff. So I kind of had to put my husband in training. And I was breastfeeding without my baby on the bottle. So I completely stopped breastfeeding and I was pumping everything and giving it to her in a bottle. On top of that, she was underweight, or she is underweight. So I had to add an extra formula and I had extra doctor's visits. And yeah, just had to figure out childcare the rest of the time. And my mom, Paul's mom and dad, and it takes a village. And then just getting the clothes that you need for Kenya, which is kind of exciting, right? Because you're like, oh, I need the stuff that I need because we don't go on safari every day. And we also want to look cute for our pictures. So it's just fun. It's fun. And then what's cool is doTERRA sends you a swag box, which is something else I didn't expect, which was really awesome. In the swag box, it gave us like a little towel that you can wet and kind of cool you down. I was like, okay, what am I going to use that for? All of it comes in handy. A travel pillow, a backpack, a toiletry little case. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. Blanket. Anyway, everything that they give you, use it because they give it to you for a reason, because they know what to expect on this trip. Okay. Let me just show you this video. Once you decide that you want to go on a trip, they have a whole website and they explain to you all the information and what's exactly included in your fee. And it's everything. It's as soon as you land till right when you get back. Unless you buy extra snacks, but they pass out snacks, buy extra meals, or want to go shopping. Everything is included. Isn't that awesome? They just take care of it for you. And they just give you information about Kenya, each place that you're going to stay at, co-impact sourcing, and and then I'll show you the itinerary after. Let me just play you this video.
It's very much surprising because the poverty level here before was really, really bad. Whenever I come here, I see everybody is very busy doing something to earn his or her bread. Yeah. So you're investing in this area has actually changed the lifestyle.
We identified Kenya as one part of the world where amazing plants were grown. And we identified Kenya as a place where we could really make a difference and get amazing oils. I was recently with a grower in Kenya where they were with their first harvest of their crop. And we talked to them and said, how excited are you? And they said, in our small land we have grown for years, we've never had a cash crop, a crop where we're actually paid right as it was harvested.
So this is a Bluetooth scale that's portable and goes out into the fields, and it links up with the field officer's mobile phone. They'll weigh the tea tree or ginger or whatever it is, and it registers immediately on the phone, Then Lydia will hit payment. That transaction is recorded in the farmer's account, and then those funds are transferred to the farmer's mobile within 24 hours. Yeah, we're pushing for instantaneous. We'll get there pretty soon. Or 24 hours.
What makes it so good for me when I can do a small thing that would change somebody's life. Like tomorrow I have these people, they cannot go begging. They can take their children to school. Because of one day I came and visited and spent 5 minutes to explain something. It makes the whole difference.
This geranium was planted, and now cuttings are taken from this and then made and put, planted, and then seedlings will grow from that. And the seedlings are then provided to the farmers.
I mean, the financial kind of inputs required to plant something like this all up front would be really challenging. So we've been really lucky to create a revolving credit fund, which allows farmers to buy all of these seedlings on credit. That balance is deducted over the course of a number of different harvests. So they're paying it off over time, which allows farmers to jump into a project like this, which would otherwise be very difficult to do.
Growing it for the last 6 months. This is their first harvest. They planted in February this year.
We're really focused on building systems that put farmers first, providing them all the support structure that they need to succeed as a smallholder farmer of essential row crops. We've got field officers who spend every day in the field, visiting with farmers, giving them support, offering advice, helping farmers harvest their crops, weighing it on site, paying for it in a quick and timely manner, and then bringing it here to the distillery where it can be processed and distilled into essential oils.
We could work with commercial farmers in developed nations and produce wonderful plants, wonderful oils from these plants, but we wouldn't be doing as much good in the world. And for us, we're always looking at how can we impact the world in a positive way. And so we have chosen primarily to work through small-scale farmers wherever we go around the world.
If we grow that 5 times or 10 times, does that fulfill your dream?
You'll have fulfilled my dream and the dream of everybody else. I can see the small children going to schooling and acquire knowledge. It's a God given, you know. God has actually listened to the cry, and these people will be self-dependent. So that's what we're doing.
Okay. Sorry. I've been there, so I get really emotional. What I want to know, like, what was your biggest takeaways that you guys saw in that video?
I'm sure that we're all sticklers about this, but like when people come to visit here in Hawaii, it's like tourist stuff and like I want to do like the things that are like made up about Hawaii. But I think what's cool is that like when you go, or like when Ben and I like spent almost half an hour like reading about all the places for 2020, like it seems to me like they involve you in the community and not just take you to do touristy things. And I think that's also super important. Like when Ben and I travel, we don't really want to stay in hotels. We don't really want to stay on resorts for the most. I mean, it's nice to relax and stuff, but we're not going to spend our whole time there because we want to understand the culture, that we want to, you know, hear the music and eat all the food and learn about the history. And I feel like you guys got a part of that too. I was like following you guys every day on like Instagram and just waiting for your stories to upload.
I know, it's so crazy. I'm really good at posting Instagram stories, but I didn't expect that the Wi-Fi would not be good. None of the stories would upload, which is kind of crazy. but I was like, I just took it as a sign of maybe what I was trying to share should be just kept for me almost. And it, I mean, I should share it, but just different. Maybe some of it I should keep to myself, and also just reminded me to be really present. I did take a lot of pictures on my camera, but not really like on my phone because I also didn't have service. Like it was just very interesting. It wasn't what I expected. Like we stayed at hotels that had Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi wasn't that great. And I was in a group of like 30 people, and you spend your entire time being present and experiencing what's going on and speaking and talking and building relationships with these other wellness advocates. And it was just like, it was awesome. A few things that I took away from that video was, I mean, the main thing was what they said in that video is completely true because I saw it. Like you can watch a video and be like, oh, they say that they pay the farmers right away. They say that they send people out into the fields to educate them and make sure that they're getting the most out of their harvest. And they say that they're helping their economy because giving them jobs helps them to pay for the schooling of their children. But I went there and I saw it, and it was just really cool to see. The field officers, I think, was one of the coolest things because it's not like, here, take a seedling, it's on credit, and you'll pay us back because you'll be harvesting and giving us your crops. And good luck. It's like they send people out there to make sure that that farmer is getting the most out of their crops, and they know how to grow it, and they give them tips, and sometimes they help them. Like we went to a farm and we actually got into their farm and was putting mulch around the new baby geranium plants on this fourth of an acre lot, which was really hard work actually. But just to see it in real life was really, really cool. So when you actually get to Kenya, there's an entire itinerary. You get off the airplane and doTERRA is holding a sign that says doTERRA, not doTERRA, but a person meets you that's holding a sign that says doTERRA. And then he took our bags, and I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. Like, thank you. I can carry my own bag, but I really appreciate it because we've traveled a really long way. Our first flight was 9.5 hours. Then we had a 7-hour, 3-hour, whatever. Our next flight was like 14 hours, and our next flight was 5 hours. So you can imagine how much traveling that is, and security lines. It was just intense. So it was a breath of fresh air to land, and someone holding a doTERRA sign led us through customs, helped us with our bags, put us in a car, took us to our hotel, and there we met our host. And I didn't expect that. Our host name was Mauricio. I love him to death. He is part of Morris Events, and doTERRA actually uses Morris Events for all of their co-impact sourcing trips, and then the incentive trips that we win, Blue and Presidential Diamond trips, the Presidential Diamond trips, and it's just so professional. So he met us, and we're like, oh, what do we do? He's just like, hi, I'm Mauricio, check in right here. All you need to do is sign for your room, and dinner's on your own, and we'll see you in the morning. Make sure you pack your duffel, and we're leaving here at 7:30 in the morning. Just like having someone there and explain that to you was like made all the difference. So I kind of did our thing, and then this is at our first hotel right next to the airport, and then we met everyone in the morning at breakfast, and then we just kind of went through the rest of the itinerary. We first started in Nairobi, which is the main city, and like Alexis said, is like when you go somewhere, you don't really want to do the touristy things. We landed in the main city, and we just spent no time in there. No time in the main city. The next morning, we landed at night, had dinner, went to sleep, woke up in the morning, had breakfast, got on a little car that took us to a private charter, like little airport. And we caught a private charter plane just for doTERRA. And it flew us to Diani, which is, Kenya's like this, and it's on this little edge right on the coast. And we stayed at a beach resort for 2 nights. And we did one co-impact sourcing day. And then we got on a charter plane again and flew to Opejeta, where's that city? And Nanyuki, and where we landed, and that was Safari Land. We got in these safari cars and stayed at this Serena Sweetwater's camp, which is like glamping. and we were basically on safari every day. But when we did another co-impact sourcing day at Mount Kenya, it's called, and then we did a whole day drive back to Nairobi, and then Aiko and I stayed one more night at Giraffe Manor. Then we traveled home. So we definitely got like, we were taken care of and we were safe, but we definitely got a full, I feel like, Kenya experience from the main city to the beach side to the mountain side. Okay. So, like I said, we went to the first place in Diani, which is by the beach, and then we had one co-impact sourcing day. When you look at Kenya itself, if you look at, doTERRA does this handout. I don't know if you guys have probably gotten it, but you didn't really look at it or really understand it if you went to convention. But there's a little handout that's about Kenya and the way that doTERRA is co-impact sourcing with Kenya. And there's a map, and it shows two areas of Kenya. One is Lunga Lunga and one is Mount Kenya. And so we went to Lunga Lunga, where they call it the Lunga Lunga Project. And I feel like they call it that because it's about the whole community. We arrived and we came in our safari cars and we actually drove through the village. I'm gonna get emotional, so that's why I'm like pausing. We drove through the village and I've never seen anything like it. I've been to Bali, and you drive through, you kind of like, you can cycle through Bali and you can see what their homes are like. It's very different from driving through this community, this village. There was a lot of like open land and then a house. So it looks like this family owns land with a house. Their houses were made out of sticks and mud clay, and their roofs had palm trees. So they had a shelter, but it's basically a shack. But I'm like, sorry, I'm like replaying the things in my mind that I'm seeing, and it's crazy. So they don't have driveways, but they have like these little walkways to their house. And they heard our cars coming in, and it was like a parade. And the kids would run down their pathway from their house and stand there and be waving at us. And it was just so cute because I think they were just really excited to have visitors. They told us that they never had any visitors. And this was probably one of the biggest days of my whole life coming to this place. And they were just so welcoming, just seeing these children, like just so excited to see people come through their village. We drove all the way into this area. See this little center? This is a building. They don't have buildings. So when I came to this, I was like, wow, there's a building. And then it's like, oh, it's a doTERRA building. So that's kind of cool. It's fenced and there's a security guard. So you have to have access to get into this area. So it's protected. It's interesting. You walk in and these women greeted us. They're in uniform, they're doTERRA uniform. This is a distillery. This is a community hall, community center that they are able to use for weddings and gatherings, also farmer trainings and employee just recreation. They have toilets in here, and then also those hole in the grounds. You know, like when you go to Japan or when you go to Bali, if you guys have ever been there, those little like hole toilets. They had a few of those. And after driving through the village, I realized that that's probably the only toilets in their whole village, besides their school. These women were singing to us. It was so cute. They were singing and welcoming us, and then they went off to work. Right behind here, see this little building here, is this distillery. And all around the side, they're growing Melaleuca, tea tree. I had to really understand the tea tree thing because I was like, oh, you know, we call it, it's labeled Melaleuca, but they're going to relabel it as tea tree. So tea tree is the plant. Melaleuca is the highest classification of it. On the left-hand side, there's a big water reservoir that has vetiver planted all around it. And vetiver isn't there to harvest it. Vetiver is there to keep other things from coming in and other plants from growing and invading this water reservoir because they use it for the distillation process. They basically walked us through how they distill the oil. They were distilling tea tree and cinnamon bark. It's really cool. And if you look at this picture here, this is all the harvested Melaleuca, harvested tea tree. And then this is out in the field where they chop it off. They do it by hand. So they're cutting the Melaleuca. And something that I learned is they cut it at an angle. They don't want it flat because when it rains, bacteria can grow. They want it sideways. So they cut it sideways, like when you cut ribbon. Cut sideways, that way the water can kind of like roll off. Do you guys have any questions? Because I feel like I'm missing a million things and it's hard to explain the whole experience. Quick question. Now that's labeled tea tree, I noticed it doesn't have supplement backs on the bottle. Is it safe internally? It is. It's safe to take internally. There's a reason behind why they took it off. But on a diamond call, they said it's definitely still safe to take internally. But for some reason, they had to take it off the bottle. Okay. I think if there's like one thing from this whole trip, like if I could only do one day, I would choose this day, this Lunga Project day. Something about it was that it was really hot, like really hot. Rob's wife fainted. Another lady was pretty sick the next day. A few others were feeling really lightheaded. And that's why, I remember when I mentioned in the swag box, they give us this towel and this cup that you can wet and keep you, yeah. I didn't bring mine. That was for this day. I should listen. That's why they give you a swag box. And they were just passing out a lot of water. We had 2 health and safety guys with us. I called them our bodyguards. And that was really cool because they were like medics. There's no, like, hospitals are very far. We are in a developing country. There's not even a store, you know. You need something, there's no store to go to. So health and safety men with us was pretty cool. They not only made sure that we were okay medically, but they made sure that we were protected. So yeah, we walked around this Melaleuca farm. We spent a few hours there. Not gonna lie, this wasn't probably the biggest thing that I've taken out of the trip. Like actually like spending the time and understanding how they distill. I thought it was so cool. But the experience itself and being in Kenya and seeing the people and seeing the farmers, that was like beyond for me. We did see a little greenhouse with seedlings. And like they said in the video, farmers come to pick up the seedlings and that way they can go home into their properties and plant their seeds. And then the field officers go out to their farms and help them to make sure that they're growing their crops and going to get a really good harvest and get paid. The thing about these countries is that they don't get to send their kids to school. Sorry, I'm like emotional. They can't send I'm gonna look at a different picture. You can't just send your kids to school. You have to pay to send them to school. And so my biggest takeaway from this is understanding that one small thing, giving them seeds or giving them credit to plant seeds and helping them farm to in turn get paid is like a huge futuristic longevity residual thing, because you're empowering them to make money where they're going to farm and pass it on for generations So their family is gonna be able to have income for the rest of time, right? Basically, that's the idea. And the money that they make, they can pay for their children to go to school. Their first schooling is primary, their second schooling is secondary. And that already paves a way bigger future than the current people that are there have. Does that make sense? So again, that full circle thing, like I feel like this is like even way more full circle than you would think that you would understand. It's not just the co-impact sourcing and the healing hands and everything. It's the way that the farmers are empowered, so that they make money, so that they are sending their children to school, so that their future generations have an even bigger and brighter future, and the whole community is thriving and empowered. They may not have toilets now, they may live in shacks now, but in the future, they're probably gonna have, so they call it, they upgrade their roofs from palms to tin. So if they have tin roofs, then that's like their upgrade. After we went to the distillery and did that tour, we went to their primary school there. The children greeted us, sang to us. It was a Saturday. So they were called to come to the school, the whole village. It wasn't just the girls who went to that school, the girls and the boys who went to that school. It was the entire village, their families. There were men, older men there. They had regular clothes, but very simple. Except I saw one girl wearing like a Frozen t-shirt, Frozen characters t-shirt. That was kind of cute. I would say their clothes were clean, but I did see some children with holes in their clothes. But when I like was actually with them, their bodies were clean. Does that make sense? Their hands were clean. So they were singing songs, they were greeting us, and then we danced with them. They were reciting poems, and one of them was saying how they were thankful that they had toilets because of doTERRA Healing Hands. So co-impact sourcing gives them money to support their families, but Healing Hands goes in and sees what the community needs, right? So Healing Hands will go in and be like, oh, you know, this school, they need more books. They need toilets. They don't have any toilets. They need a fence around their school, which is what our project was. So whoever was healthy, because remember it was a super, super hot day. It was the most intense heat I've ever felt. And little did I know, Kenya is like right on the equator of the earth, you guys. Just like this experience was blowing my mind. I was like, surprises left and right. We were on the equator. And so you can imagine it was very hot. And whoever was healthy enough could go and start building the fence. And the rest of us stayed with the children. I wouldn't say that I wasn't feeling healthy enough. I would say that I felt more drawn to spend time with the kids. And we were painting their nails. We were handing out oils, like just teaching them how to use oils and just giving them drops of oils in their hand. I felt like that was pretty special because most of the farmers, they don't know what the end product is produced sometimes, you know, so that's kind of cool. And I held a baby, which was like I was like, I need to hold a baby. And then I was dancing with some of the kids, which was really cute and fun. They didn't want us to leave, and when it was time to leave, they were kind of crowding our car. And again, I want to talk about those health and safety guys. They were so nice, but telling the kids like, okay, we gotta go, sorry, and kind of like pushing them back a little bit because there was a lot of them, and they were all trying to just come, and they're happy to see us, you know. So it was nice that they kind of like, okay, back up a little bit and let us get in our cars and let us leave. Aren't those children adorable? Look at Aiko. She like, when we drove in, they just bombarded us and were giving us hugs. And Aiko like busted out her camera and like was taking selfies. And it was so cute. Is she on yet? Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions. So that was Lunga Lunga. There's not enough time to fully like explain hour by hour what we did. But know that there's a big co-impact day in the first city, and a big co-impact day in the second city. This day was really emotional for everybody. The only reason why I was wearing sunglasses was because I was crying so much. I had to put it on before I even saw the children. As soon as we drove in, we were all already crying, because they were just so cute and they were happy to see us, and we saw where they were living, and so it was like, you know what I mean. I think the heat was a lot, and so a lot of us felt a little unhealthy for the next like day, but we traveled the next day, so that was nice. We caught a charter plane and we went to Mount Kenya area, and we checked into the Serena camp, where we pretty much landed on safari. One of the coolest things like that I'll ever remember in my whole life is that we were landing in the airplane on, like, it's not even an airport, it's like literally gravel, a little gravel strip. And we were all telling each other, remember, we're on like just doTERRA people on the airplane, so we could be loud if we want. And we were just like, oh, I bet we can't see anything, like we're landing there, it's too loud for the animals to be around. And then all of a sudden we saw giraffes and we all started screaming, and it was just such a cool thing. So I saw all of our safari cars lined up right along the runway, and we were landing, and then there were a whole line of giraffes. Then the plane landed and pulled around and came back. We unloaded and walked to our cars, and there was just giraffes everywhere around us. It's not like really close, but close enough. Like we couldn't touch them or anything, but it was just cool to just see them everywhere. We got in our cars and we just drove through. Animals here are hunted. I also didn't know that. Back in the early 1900s, British would come and they would hunt for fun. They'd strip the lions, the cheetahs, and they'd make rugs. And that was okay and that was normal back then. But now we're starting to save the animals, right? And so you'll see if you ever go to Africa that there's conservancies. We went through the gates of this one, which is right in this area, and it's just acres and acres and acres of land where wildlife live. Giraffe, zebras, rhinos, lions, cheetahs, buffaloes. They just live there and they just are protected and they breed and they're just there. And there's villages, and we stayed at a hotel there, and there's a chimpanzee conservancy, and there's the rhino that we saw, and it's just like this huge property where you drive around in your safari cars and go to different areas of the property. That was really cool. On the other side, so we entered from this side where it's kind of like wildlife. On the other side, where we drove into Mount Kenya the next day, as soon as you pass the gate, it's full city, their type of city. So it was interesting to see that right over this wall is a city, and right on the other side is this whole conservancy. One of the coolest moments of my whole life. Okay. Yeah, there's just a few pictures of us. There's some zebras. We saw everything except for lions. It was awesome. They coordinated these game viewing drives. They call it game. And it was optional. So you could either go in the morning at 6:30 or you can go at night at 5 o'clock. They only had a few for us, and I took advantage of all but one on the last day. Here's Aiko with the rhino. We got to feed and pet it. So then we did that next co-impact sourcing day, co-impact day. This is the Mount Kenya project. In the videos that in the video that you saw, the places that were in the background, this is where we went to see. If you guys went to convention and saw Kigo 2 years ago, he had an amazing story. Save that for another day. And then he came back this convention. That was cool. He's like a celebrity. And then we saw him here at the Mount Kenya distillery. They were distilling geranium. It smelled amazing in there. And of course, they ran us through the whole process of how they distill geranium. the second half of the day, we actually went to visit a farm. Lunga Lunga was just a different experience. Mount Kenya was like going to someone's farm that they own and talking with them and hearing from them was a whole nother experience that was just amazing. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't even, how do I show this?
Father of three. So one is seated in a silent room now, doing Kenya certificate of secondary education. Right away. The other one is in Form 2. The other one, they have gone to visit their grandmother somewhere.
Umeulizwa swali kulima geranium maisha yenu imemguza vipi? Ni wapi mmeona kama mnasaidika kama? I just want her to also give her version says.
Rasha tuseme imetusaidia kama school fees. Hapo bereni ilikuwa shida. Tulikuwa tunalima tomatoes, pengine unakuta soko sio mzuri, lakini saa hii iko na kama akiba. Sasa January ikifika, najua mzee ako na akiba hapa.
So what she's saying is the same answer. They're using it for paying school fees. Previously, they used to do vegetable and they would take them to the market, and most of the time they found the market had collapsed. So they'll come back so much disappointed. They couldn't raise the money for the school fees. But she's happy now that when she looks at the crop, she knows she has a bank in her. That's what she's saying. So he doesn't need to come and harvest and pay for the school fees. So he knows the man of the house has some money.
Savings account.
What about the water?
Okay, so what you guys saw was what they were saying straight from their mouth. They were saying what doTERRA has done for them, right? They're able to send their kids to school. And he mentioned he has three daughters. He mentioned that one of them is in secondary school. I was saying they're just trying to send their kids to primary school. And then his children are going to secondary school because of doTERRA. They used to farm like tomatoes and Loda grass, I hope I said that right. But the market wasn't that good for it, and sometimes you can take your tomatoes and people won't buy it. So being a farmer is kind of hard in Kenya, you know. For them to grow geranium and have a harvest where they get paid right away, and their geranium will grow back, and they know they can make so many harvests a year and make so much money to send their children to school. That's awesome. I shared with you that we did work in their farm. We did mulching around baby geranium plants. She even welcomed us into her home, and her home was definitely better, higher scale than that last city that we were in that last community that we were in. She had, like, if you step into her home, it was the ground, it was like dirt, but she had like wood walls, and she had furniture, and she had like fabrics on her furniture, and she welcomed us into her home to sit on the couch, and she had a coffee table, and she served us watermelon. She was so sweet, and it was just really cool to see that and to hear from them what doTERRA has done for them. And in turn, what I asked us to share with them, I was like, hey, do you mind if we share with you what your plant does for us? Each of us went down the line. We just kind of jumped in and kept going. What geranium oil does for us and what it does for our customers and how it changes lives. And it was just really awesome to hear from them and for us to share with them. Yeah, so that was pretty much that day. It was going to that distillery, hearing and understanding more about the farms, and then going to a farm. We all split up into different groups and went to different geranium farms so that they all got a visit from doTERRA. Oops, where's my pictures? Sorry. So odd. I made friends. The biggest thing is that here's all my pictures. Oh, it's there, it's just not showing. I just want to I knew that I was coming into this knowing that we were going to be with a small group. So they connect you through Facebook. So they have a Kenya Facebook group with just this week. They had 3 different weeks going to 3 different groups going 3 weeks in a row to this Kenya itinerary. And I knew that we were going to make friends, and I absolutely loved it. And the reason is because these are people from different teams. These are people who are silver and above ranks. Some of them are silver, a lot of them are diamonds. I had 1 presidential diamond. This guy right here is Eric Larson, who I absolutely love. And then you get a doTERRA executive. Our doTERRA executive, I'm so thankful, was Rob Young because he's fun. And so it's like, yes, we got Rob Young. He's a Bullhead guy, if you guys don't know who that is. And it was just fun. It was just like a fun trip. The itinerary was very packed, like super packed. I was tired most of the time. I was just trying to survive. Like I was just trying to take care of myself and keep my cup filled and make sure I was eating and taking my vitamins and drinking lots of water and then creating relationships. I went to Diamond Retreat and I made a few friends. It was like, oh, share to lunch with this person. I took the lift ride up the mountain with these 2 people, and I took the lift ride down with these other 2 people. But when you're going on a co-impact sourcing trip, you're spending a whole week with the same group of people, and you're eating meals together. You're riding in the cars for hours. It's just such a cool thing, and I know that I told them, like, we're lifelong friends because we're lifelong in doTERRA, right? Like, this is not a business where you quit. So it was just really cool to make these really good friends. And I've talked to a few about the business, and I felt like I got so much more insight about even just how to be a better leader. So that was really fun. I feel like I bonded with Rob Young's wife more, and then Eric Larson and his wife. When you guys listen to the podcast, Eric Larson, the Empowered Success podcast, Eric Larson is one of those who speaks on it. I love his voice and I love his advice. And he is one of the first wellness advocates in the doTERRA company. I think he's also like pretty much part of the doTERRA corporate team as well. And then here's a fun picture of me and Aiko. We stayed 1 extra day just to enjoy Giraffe Manor, which I found on Instagram. And I was like, Aiko, look at this place. And Aiko is a person who makes things happen. So she found a room. You can't go to this place unless you book a room. So you have to stay there. But the cool thing is when you get there, well, they have a car for you. So they'll pick you up and they'll take you here. You have a host who serves you each meal, who walks you to the gift shop, who takes your pictures. You show him what kind of pictures you like and he'll make sure he takes them and he gets the giraffes in place for you and all of that. I was very fortunate to be able to spend this time with Aiko, and I don't even know if she's on yet. She texted me that she was putting her kids to sleep. But it was awesome. I'm just so thankful that she asked me on this trip and we were able to bond. So thank you, Aiko. There's one more picture of us. Okay, we made it under an hour. I wanted to open it up to questions and see if you guys have any about any part of the trip. Or if you guys have any comments or any takeaways. Yeah, I think going on one is important. Did you guys like the video of the farmers talking and actually hearing from their mouth of what doTERRA has done for us? Yeah, that was also emotional when I was there with them. I was also wearing sunglasses. I was also crying when I was telling them what geranium. What I shared with them was that I have used geranium to support my customers who want fertility support. Geranium is a really good oil it's an emotional oil. helps to kind of support your heart and then also balance your hormones. And so that fertility roller that I got from the book has geranium in it, clary sage, lavender, and fennel. So geranium that's what I wanted to share with them, and I was like choked up talking about it, but yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, you guys. I recorded it, so I'll email it out. Tomorrow's team call at noon is going to be like more of a team call. Summer promotions, some inspiration. I definitely want to hear from you guys and how your months went, and we have some celebrating to do with a bunch of new ranks. So I'm so excited. I'll see you guys tomorrow at noon. If you can't make it, I know some of you are at work, I will record that as well. Okay, thanks you guys so much for letting me share. Okay, bye.